What's up guys, I'm Tanner Chidester, and in this video series, Justin Waller's team have come to Miami to immerse themselves in the world of online business with me as their guide. So buckle up and get ready to dive into the realm of entrepreneurship. When you first came to me and told me what's going on, pretty much all you have is, this is your audience, right? And then all you really had was an email list. And so everything's running through the email list, which isn't bad, but pretty much all you do on the email list is you're just doing one a day of, it's like a daily email. And that's pretty much the only ecosystem you had. What you guys need to start setting up is, it would look similar to this. So I'll show you. So you have the opt-in for the contractor. So let's just say this is your contractor offer, right? Do that. And then this is your, we'll say the subs, okay? You guys already do this a little bit, but it's not optimized for the offer. So what they would do is they'd create a landing page, which they already did. So you get email and text here, right? Then on the next page, once they opt in, you would have some type of VSL with a 60-minute call and an app, okay? So an application. Then they go to the sales call with the team. Once they opt in here, they can book a call here. Your team could DM them too, because we talked about messaging ads. So I would start here because this is easier to scale, but you could run ads or you could have people DM you, and then your team can also be messaging them. They can come from the call, so they could book from the VSL, they could book from a DM, you could push them to a Facebook group. You can have setters who call. So you could have setters call all the leads who opt in here, so they could actually dial and call. You can do live events, text, call, voicemails. I showed them how they could set up voicemails and do tagging. There's a bunch of stuff you could do. So really the biggest thing you guys are missing is just some type of ecosystem that the goal is to push them from here all the way through. And then once you have them on the email and text, you can push them to a group. Your setters could call. You can send text messages. You can push them back to this VSL. You can leave voicemails, you can do live events. It's a bunch of stuff. All you're really doing right now is you do an email a day, and then you're not really promoting anything except the war room and the real world, right? And then you're obviously giving up a cut of that. So it's the same thing for the supplements. The difference with supplements is that supplements, they can work, but it's a bigger volume play. I think your chance of making a ton of money faster is this.
Yep.
This has higher equity advantage, so it's easier to sell this type of company than this company, but this is going to be a longer play. It's going to take longer, and your margins are going to be a lot thinner, right? So this, whether you run ads or not, can work if you use ads in conjunction. I don't see why you couldn't do $1 million plus a month unless that market is smaller than I think. Because with all the organic traffic you get, let's say in a month you were able to make 15 sales, that's 150,000. If you took 150,000 and put that into ads, you're going to make a tremendous amount of money, right? So it's all ads do is it takes something that's currently working and makes it work better. The difference you have that other people don't is your audience. And so the reason people want to work with you is because they can take this audience, and then instead of spending, 200 to 300K on ads, they get this audience for free to come here. So most people have to spend that much to get the same result you're going to get for free, probably. That's what I'm assuming, just based on your IG. That doesn't even include anything else.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what you guys are missing right now, it's just the systems. So when someone opts into my stuff, they'll get emails and texts. We'll have setters start dialing
based off that group. Like they'll start getting construction tech emails.
Exactly.
They'll go down the drip.
Exactly. And then for your subs, so you're going to have 2 separate email lists. Right? Because right now, all you have is this daily one. It's just basically a day in the life.
It's a general, yeah.
It's very general. And so once you set all this stuff up, the other stuff isn't that complex. The hard part is if I was talking to them and they didn't understand anything I told them, then you'd have a problem. Because it is a lot of stuff, but they picked up on pretty much everything I showed them, and it wasn't that big of a deal from what it seemed like. Years ago when I was doing it, I had to have a separate system for text messages, separate system for emails, separate system for websites. It was a nightmare. Now it's all in one place. Right. So it's a whole ecosystem that works together. The ads themselves are not that important. It's the system. So if you had worked with someone, what they would do for you is they would set up the system and then push the ads to it. And
they'd probably put me in the same kind of software.
What was it?
Yeah.
That's probably what they're using. Most everyone at this point is using Go High Level, which is basically what we put you in.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to use the same software as you guys. You guys can make a ton of money off that just being an affiliate. So if they use the same software, you guys can make a bunch of extra money. You probably, I don't know how much you would make, but you'd make a lot just by selling that.
Getting them to use Go High Level.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's affiliate software. So like a lot of my clients, they come in and they use the same software we use. We're doing about 100,000 a month just from that, right? So we don't even have to do much, and that's a $97 offer. We do about 100,000 recurring just from that.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a bunch of stuff you could do. They show me you're going to do a live event in a few days that will sell. There's a bunch of stuff you could do, but I don't know what parts you want to go through or maybe questions they have. But the biggest thing I was showing them is how to set up the system. Once you set up the system, the only difference is you're going to start pushing your audience to a link in your bio or your story link, and it's going to take them through the funnels. And then what's going to happen that isn't happening now is there's going to be 7 to 10 day email sequences, and they're going to get automatic text messages. They're going to have setters who can call. They're going to be getting DMs pushing to the offer. So you're going to start making a lot more money because right now you're not really offering anything.
Right. When it comes to the emails and the text messages, we just need to pre-write them.
Yeah, exactly. So you have two ways to do emails. I mean, right now what you do, from what I can tell, I might be wrong, but it looks like
approve an email. That's all we do.
It's a what?
We just approve it.
Yeah, exactly.
I get
So
one sentiment a day.
yeah, so what you would do when they come in is when they come in here, so they come through the funnel and they opt in, you would have, let's say these are your emails right here, and then we'll just do some squares, and then this would be your text messages. And so you'd have a 7 to 10 day sequence of emails. They get one a day, pushing them to book a call or pushing them to buy something. And then you'd also have text messages pushing them to book a call or buy something. So the biggest difference from what I do is that as soon as someone comes through, all we're trying to do is get them to buy stuff, right? The whole time. And then we're nurturing. We have stuff where we'll nurture them, or they can watch a YouTube video, etc. But the thing right now is you're not doing that, right? And so as soon as you start doing that, you're going to start making a lot of money really fast, unless you have an issue with maybe your sales team's like super bad or something like that. But again, the reason it will work really well is because you don't have to pay for ads. So it means your team can make way more mistakes, right? Because when I run ads, I can't have that many mistakes, because if I make too many mistakes with the ads, we don't make any profit. Right. Really what most of the people were telling you is they're saying, hey, we'll run your ads, et cetera, et cetera. But what they really are saying, yes, the ads are important, but the most important thing is this part.
Right.
And then what happens on the back end. So I'm not saying it doesn't help, but if you guys started running ads and you have this part down, the ads don't have to perform that well.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Do you have guys that can write these copy emails?
Yeah. I mean, we have people to do anything, right? It just depends on like what our clients pay for. But yeah, I mean, we could, or they already have templates ready, right? I think Thomas does the emails. I think he could do it. They have templates to follow too. So the system you guys got, there should be templates in there.
Oh, in that software.
Yeah, it's templates. Yeah. So when they go in, it's not blank. The emails are already set up, and they just have to change the copy.
So I need to go really learn this platform.
I would. It's either that, or you're kind of in the same position where they know how it works, but you don't.
Yeah, no. I like the idea of me learning it.
It's not that complex though once you start to learn it, because everything's in one place. So when you first look at it, it's going to be a little complex to you. Right. But as soon as you get used to it, it's like anything else. It's pretty simple.
Does Elite 360 have function where you can mass text message people?
Mass text message? Yeah.
Mass text message?
Like of course. Yeah. Of course.
Cool.
Yeah. You pay per text, and you pay for per email, right? It's like very cheap. And then it's like 0.0025 cents or whatever. And then you can choose who you send the text to and where the text goes, etc. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
And also for your setters and salesmen, do you have them in the emails also, like messaging people, or is it just the text?
Yeah, but you usually try to call really fast. So what we'll try to do with emails is we'll try to get them to reply. Mm-hmm. And then if we reply, we'll start calling them. And then if they don't pick up, we'll reply the email and say, hey, saw your reply, called you at da-da-da, give me a buzz back or text me here or whatever, because you're just trying them on the phone. You don't want to go back and forth in emails.
Gotcha.
Right? Unless you're asking them to click a link. So usually you're either going to tell them to click a link, or we'll try to get them to reply, and we'll say, hey, reply this. And if they reply that, we'll start calling them.
When it comes to what the course should cost versus, like, let's say an inner circle group for contractors, where do you think those two price points are? Let's say I sold a course, it was just the course.
Yeah.
But then for me to kind of put them in a group of coaching for a year, let's say.
But only group coaching or one-on-one?
So
the more access they get, the more you can charge. So let's say hypothetically a course that is all they get, you could charge anywhere between, it could be as cheap as $7 all the way to maybe $2,000, right? The closer to $2,000 it gets, the harder it is to sell, and the more you have to get on phone calls. It's usually not worth it to get on the phone for those types of deals, unless you're not spending money on ads, which you could get away with, right? So Sam Evans, he had a 2K course. He tried to run ads to it, get people to buy it automatically, and then his team would call all the buyers and upsell, a $10,000 or $30,000 course. If you did a group program and you only wanted to do group coaching and 0 one-to-one, you could maybe for a year, you could do probably anywhere between, I'd say 5K to 7K per year. That would be the max though, probably for group. If you do one-to-one, you could do 10K, for 3 months, or you could do, for a year, you could do 20K, 30K, 40K. I mean, when it's one-to-one, you can charge pretty much whatever you want. So it just depends what type of headache you want to deal with. The downside of this is you're not going to make as much money. The upside is you're not going to have as hard a fulfillment, right? So it just depends on what you want. When I sell a $16,000 program, the fulfillment has to be really good.
Yeah.
Right. But the good news is it's all the same type of people. So that does make it easier as well, because you can give them the same copy, the same funnels, the same messages, the same ads. You don't have to change everything. But the more you charge, people want one-to-one. It's really hard. If you were going to charge that, it'd be really hard to charge that and not get people off without one-to-one. They just expect a much higher fulfillment. If you did this for a year, that's fine. But then you're not going to make as much money, right? So it just comes down to what you want to do.
What do you think the most money is in those three?
This for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you get 10 sales, you're at $100,000. I mean, that's as easy as it gets. And you're closing on the phone. So that means the marketing doesn't have to be as good, because when you're asking people to book a call, it's easier ask than to book to buy. Now, granted, you probably would have them do the same thing here if you sold this for a year. But if they're going to get on the phone, you might as well sell the highest price thing, in my opinion. That's what I would do. If you sell a course, the upside of a course is there's no fulfillment. The downside is it's a lot harder to sell. And typically, if you're going to sell this, you can't get on the phone. It's not worth it, because the sales guys won't make enough money unless you put them on a salary. So this means the marketing has to be perfect, which is a lot harder to do. That's why I'm not a fan of teaching that, because it's harder to pull off, right? So Iman Gadzhi, for example, he does a lot of this type of stuff or that, and he sells it on a webinar, but he also has 4 million subscribers.
Yeah.
So he'll make $30 million a launch because he has so much volume. Not because I think his stuff is amazing. Maybe it is. I don't know. But,
how much do you think we can make in a launch?
Bro, low for sure. I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But to give you context, if we spend, if we're spending that amount on ads per month, we're going to make front end, worst case 400 to 600 G's. Front end, and that doesn't even include recurring payments, right? So, I mean, you've never sold anything. I don't see why you couldn't do hundreds of thousands right out of the gate. Right. It just depends if you can handle the volume, because you're going to go from 0 to hyperbolic, and so you might have to limit how many people sign up at the beginning.
I think it makes sense to put a call center in.
Yeah, but then you can't control the call center. Yeah. If you had a call center, probably what they're going to charge you is, instead of 10% for a normal closer, they're going to charge you 20%, right? So you're going to pay double for a call center, plus they're going to probably f up more because they call other people's leads, and they don't really care if they close your leads or not, because the way a call center works is they're just going to line them up with as many calls from different companies.
Yeah.
So every time you take a shortcut, you just have to be okay where you're going to lose money. So the deal you were talking about with me earlier, it's the same thing. You'd pay more money, but you wouldn't have to set anything up or deal with it. It's not that it's a bad deal if that's what you're after, right? But if you're trying to maximize ROI, everything in-house is always going to be cheaper, and you're going to have more control, because if something's up, you can go and see what it is. But if a call center is doing stuff and you're not hitting the numbers, and you go, hey, what's wrong? Oh, you're never going to get the real story. The other thing too, and that they'd have to learn, is when you're getting calls booked in, let's say these are people who are booking calls. So this is a call. These are just people booking in, right? Not every person should be left on the calendar. So what some people do is they'll have, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reps, and they really only need 4, because if they cancel this call, because they're not good looks, and they just leave those 2, they don't need as many reps. But you need someone who knows what they're doing.
Are you talking about qualifying them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you ask someone to book a call and there's no application, you'll get a million calls. But the problem is people will get on and go, oh, I thought it was $3. They should have never even been on the sales call in the first place. So if you do
you
it
can pre-qualify them in the funnel correctly, then
of course. Like when they book a call, there will be a button and they click it and there's an application and then the application gets filled out and then your team will see it because you can Slack it.
Yeah.
And then they can look and go, oh, hey, let's keep this guy. Or they go, hey, it's not good. They'll go back and requalify and say, hey, some of your answers were off. Can you do X, Y, Z, A, B, C? If they say no, you cancel it. My team does that all day. So I have people in there all day who are looking at the apps and requalifying them.
Where is your team?
I mean, it's all over, but most of our messengers and closers and stuff, they're US or Canada.
Yeah.
It depends on the quality. It depends on the sophistication of the buyer. We're talking to business owners, so we need higher levels of sophistication. You're doing contractors. I don't know. Like it may be similar to a fitness client where they don't get sold to too much. So it's going to be easier to close overall. So you can get away with more mistakes. Right. But as soon as you launch this offer, I mean, you guys will probably get slammed. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing you could do too, though, is you could just have people book. He sets his schedule up to take 8 to 10 calls a day. He'll be booked out probably 2 months, but it's not that big of a deal because you're not spending money. Right. One thing you could do is just take the guys you have now and you push it. And you have 1 or 2 coaches and you cap it and you say, hey, we're only taking on 10 people as a beta run and you just test it. Right. And then you could go faster later. Yeah, but there's a million ways to do it. It just depends what you want to do. But in the long run, what I've usually seen is the downside, if you bring someone else in and you don't know what's going on, is that you're always kind of wondering what's happening. You never really know.
With the call center.
With anything.
Yeah.
You just never know because if they're not performing, what are they going to say? Oh, just give it time, or oh, they had a down week, or oh, and you're just
to
rewrite
going, your stuff.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there going, oh, okay, yeah, you're going, okay. I mean, you don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I remember if someone's running my ads, for example, and something goes wrong, I know what's up because I know what it look like. But if someone's running your ads and you don't know, a lot of times what ad agencies will do is they'll tell people, hey, give it time. It doesn't take 3 months. It takes a couple of days. And so there'll be people who will pay them for 3 months. Their ads never perform. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, what the were you thinking? And they're like, well, they said I need to wait longer. So that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So there's a million options, right? If you bring someone in to do it, you'll make money way faster. It's just how much money they're going to ask for, right?
You're talking about ads.
Anything though. But I mean, anything like a closing team, if they come in, they're going to want 20% or more. Ads team is going to ask you for, let's say you had an in-house media buyer who you paid, 8 to 10 grand. They're going to want, 15 to 30 grand, right? Or they're going to want a percentage. It just depends what you want to do. But I think the guys you have, they understand the concepts. Like when I was talking to them, they understood what was happening. So they could handle it. It's just how you want to go about it.
And then at any point, I would be able to show you like how things are stacking up in the software, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like let's say that we send an email to book a call.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I have 40 calls lined
up
after an hour. I'd be able to send you a screenshot and be like, yo, I got one dude.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But at that point, if that was the only case, if you only have one person, there's nothing you can do at that point except plan for the future. You would just go, okay, I mean, he's booked out for 2 weeks. We got to bring on more sales guys next time. Because that's what will happen. I think you guys will get extremely booked out. I've been doing it for so long that, I've been doing it 6 years. So people are used to me sending emails and asking them to buy and seeing my ads. And we have it really dialed in, right? So to maximize profit, we want as small as a team as possible, but not so small we can't handle the volume. And then you're constantly adding or taking away people as your business, shrinks or grows. But I mean, I think if you did a launch right out the gate, you guys will get booked out for a bit. Because even if he took 10 calls a day, max, which is probably max what he could take, I think you guys would book a bunch, right? Depends though. I don't know how many contractors follow you, so I guess that's what it would depend on. Because if you
I think it's a large percentage of my following. Actually.
Yeah, so if it's a lot of contractors, then yeah. But you don't know until you try, right? So when I started, I did everything myself. I took the sales calls, I did the messaging, I did the coaching, I built the portals, I made the funnels, I did everything. And then as I grew, I started to hire people, and because I knew how it worked, I was able to do it, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I get
So
it. I need to. I mean, I guess I need to chew on how much I want to charge and what.
well, yeah, and I think if you rewatch the videos we did, like if you just watch them on 2x speed, it'd take you an hour per video.
Do we have that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I say we go home and watch.
We recorded all the videos.
I
Yeah.
want to definitely go home and watch that.
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
afternoon.
you'll have a better understanding after you watch it of what you want to do. But I think they can handle it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
No, they're
talked-
smart.
Yeah, they can handle it. They can handle it. So it just depends. Again, it's how much control. But for me, I always like to keep it in house because every time I hired it out, typically I either wouldn't get as good of a performance because they have multiple clients, right? So if you have someone who's less skilled only working on your stuff, that's usually a better hire than someone more skilled working on multiple people's things.
Yeah.
Because they're giving you 2 hours a day. This other guy's giving you 8 to 10.
And there's a learning curve. In 6 months, I think they'll be killers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, if you guys right now just put out a call link with an application, you guys would make tons of money. I mean, you don't even have to do anything. It's just for the long run. If you really want to optimize everything, that's what you want to start pushing them to. Right. And then you'd have a separate email list for your supplements, a separate thing for the contractor. If you could only do one, I do the contractor because that one is safer. It's safer. It's less risk. It definitely will make more money in the short term. In the long run, the supplement might make more, but it's
That'll take time.
Yeah, it's super high volume.
Yeah.
Super high volume. Right?
I got a quick question.
Yeah, you're good,
actually.
bro.
So even before we start running ads or retargeting campaigns, is there anything bad with adding a Facebook pixel to our website?
No, you should add it already. As soon as they start hitting the funnel, that starts giving your pixel data. And then when you start running ads, it's going to, so you guys want to put that on ASAP.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Like, is there a strategy behind like putting a pixel
has
on
that,
every
right?
website or putting it only on that funnel or?
No. Any funnel you have, you should put a pixel, but it needs to be on the right pages. So for example, when you have a pixel, you're going to have a view pixel. A view pixel goes on the whole funnel. So let's say here's your opt-in page, right? So we'll just call it opt, and this is your VSL, and then this is your let's say this is your thank you page after they book a call, right? So you have a view pixel that goes on all of them. Then this one, if they come here, that means they're a lead, right? So you'd have a lead pixel. So V is view, L is lead.
Yeah.
This one would be an application pixel, right? So you want to make sure that the right pixels are on the right pages, and you don't do that. But usually what you'll do is you'll have one pixel in the front of the funnel. It's called the header. You'll just put that in the header. That's the view pixel. And then you'll put these specific pixels on the specific page.
So the vPixel, I add that to every single page.
Exactly. But usually you can just put it in the header of the funnel.
And
So
it'll
at the
follow
very
it.
first page of the funnel, there's a header. It'll say header, and you put it there, and then it works for the entire funnel. So that pixel will fire on every single page.
And then if I go to, for example, the application page, I like.
Yeah, you would go to that specific page, click edit, and then you'd put the application pixel only on that page. Because what that would tell you is if someone hits that page, they filled out an application, right? And so then that's telling Facebook what's happening at every step of the funnel, and then it optimizes for that.
And then, of course, when we make ads, I just want to target this ad with people that applied already.
Right, yeah. So like for here, you could target people who viewed this page, who are leads, but didn't book a call.
Yeah.
Or you could target people who booked, like you would never target people who booked a call, because if they didn't buy, then they're probably not going to look. But you could target people who viewed this page, but didn't become a lead with a different ad, right? There's all kinds of shit you can do, bro.
Yeah.
There's so much you guys can do.
It's like a lab.
Yeah, it's fun, bro. I mean, that's why I love marketing, because it's a game.
Yeah.
Right. But to get to the highest levels, what I've learned now is I'm really good at marketing. But if I can get better at building a brand, or you just have a better offer. So there's a lot of guys who are super rich who nobody knows who they are, but their offers are so good. Right. And so examples of that could be, it was the Weed Maps example. Remember that? It's like, hey, come to this website. And then store owners were like, hey, I want to be promoted on your website. It's like, cool, pay me this much. So store owners would pay to get their store ranked high, so a bunch of weed smokers would go to their store. It's as good as it gets. It's like Yelp, right?
How did you go about hiring all your people for your sales team? What was that like? What was the hardest part?
Yeah, so here's what I would do. Okay, yeah, so if you're going to hire for sales, what I do is this.
To also preface this, my Instagram DMs, I have maybe like 40 people that I can dig through to hire basically.
I know.
If we ran an ad for a sales guy on our story, we get
You guys will get a bunch. You want to find people preferably who have experience, or I mean, if they're younger and they're inexperienced, that's fine. But then you have to be a really good manager and really good trainer, right? Because if they've never done it and you're not good at managing or training, that's a problem. But what I do First thing we do is we'll do the application, right? So you run on LinkedIn or Indeed. So you do an application to a type form, right? You don't have to use a type form, but it's just an application. And then I look for experience. How many years have you been in sales, etc. You do that on the type form. Have them leave a voice note of why you should hire them. Okay, a lot of times just by listening to their voice, you can tell you're not going to hire them.
Like,
It's like, hey, I'd really like to apply for your sales team. I'm a really hard worker. So if you get someone, hey, I've been in sales for 6 years, that's the type of person you're looking for. Once they do that, we'll push them to an interview. And then on the interview, I walked you through that in the SOPs, you remember? So like what to ask on the interview, et cetera. And then what we do is we'll say, hey, look, we're going to test you out. We're going to give you a practice call. So I get on the interview and then we give them the scripts and we give them recorded sales calls. Give them good recorded sales calls. Once they're done, you give them a live call of a call you would usually cancel. So you give them the worst application call ever. So someone who has $0 and you know they're not going to buy, you let them take that call and they record it and send it to you. If it sounds good, where they're a 7 out of 10 or better, you start training them. If they're below a 7, you don't train them. Because the worst thing you can do is start training people that aren't good, because you're going to have to put so much time and effort into them. So I always, before I try to hire people, I do tests to see how good they are before I even bring them on. Because if I bring them on, they're not good.
Would it be worth it to personality test these guys?
You could.
Behavioral test?
You could, but really the biggest thing for sales guys is they want to make money.
Yeah.
If they want to make money, they'll do well. If they don't care about making money, they won't do that well.
And I'm guessing you just like hear it. Like you just hear it.
You can tell. I mean, I've just done it for a while, so I can tell pretty fast. Right? If you find other things, right? They've done sales before, particularly remote sales, high ticket sales. They've been a former business owner. Those guys do really well. Athletes really do well, usually. They need to be aggressive type personality. They can't be passive. They can't be scared. They can't be, oh, I'm uncomfortable saying this. They got to be really good. But if you run an application to the type form, then you look at the best people. You listen on the application, you listen to the voice note, take those people, push them to the interview, go through everything, give them these, and then they take the live call. And you've done all that, and you've only spent 15 minutes of your time. You haven't wasted any of it, right? Because then you don't have to train all these people until you know they're actually good.
So in the last step on the live call, basically we're giving them a lead that we've already qualified, which has
no, they're terrible, but they're terrible though.
Horrible
lead. So a call that we would usually cancel, we give them that, and they don't know, and we don't expect them to close it. They don't know that, but I just want to see, can they follow the script? How do they sound? How do they fight objections? And if you've done sales for a while, I mean, I could listen to it and tell you if you need me to, but for example, I've done sales long enough that I can tell by how they talk and their tonality and how they do the objections. I can tell if it's worth me training them or not. Some guys, I listen, they're terrible. It's not worth it. You're not looking for beginners. Like end of the day, you guys can do that, but the business will do better if you have people with more experience.
Yeah.
Okay. The downside is usually they want to be paid more, but you can sell them on the opportunity too. So, hey, so right now we're coming out with this new offer. Justin's had no traffic. He gets this much impressions per month. We're expecting this many calls. You just sell them on the upside. You don't overpromise, but you can sell people on the upside all the time.
What do you do to make sure you're being a good manager? You're managing your people correctly.
I mean, are they getting production done? And, do they like working for you is really the only two things. Like for him, I just tell him, I'm like, you need to make sure that the guys are working and they're getting done. If they're not, then that's his fault. It's not their fault. It's his fault, because that's his job, is to make sure they're doing their work. So if you're being a good manager, it's just you should know what the production level looks like and what they need. So if my sales guys are supposed to close at 30% and they're not, why the fuck not? And then either that guy needs to get trained till he is, or he needs to be fired and replaced. And that's your job as the manager. Like, so I tell my managers, your job is to build the team that you want and make sure they perform.
Because I'm trying to manage all these 60 people correctly, and we're still
Yeah, but you need other managers, bro. You need to have managers. Yeah. So if you have 60 people, yeah, you should have probably 4 managers, 3 or 4 managers, and then you manage the managers, and the managers manage the teams. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be managing 100 people. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. So like usually after 4 people, you need 1 manager. So for every 4 people, you need 1 manager. For video editors, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But if I had a sales team, I might have one. If you could have maybe 1 manager for 8 guys on a sales team. But if it gets any bigger, there's probably not enough time. It's just, you can't listen to enough calls. There's too many calls, too many guys, etc. So then when that happens, you make another manager, and then you manage him. You make sure he's doing his job, right? So it just changes. right? So my job at this point is I'm a manager who manages my managers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't talk to the messengers. I don't talk to any of those people anymore.
This
Yeah.
actually has helped me a lot.
Good, dude. Awesome.
I'm good. Now I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, we'll get I'll get it. We'll get that.